Somewhere right now, 40 documents are sitting in a government database with your name nowhere near them, waiting for someone to notice they exist before the news cycle forgets to care. Yesterday, at 6:14 a.m., before most of the country had poured its first coffee, a government portal quietly updated with 40 new case files, and by lunchtime, 19 separate videos had already gone up trying to explain them, most of them wrong, most of them rushed, most of them built by people who never actually opened the files they were talking about. You're about to live through the 22 hours between that update and the moment everything about how you do this job changed. Stay with this one. It gets stranger than you think. Your alarm goes off at 6:40 a.m., 26 minutes after the update happens, and you have no idea yet that you're already behind. You're a researcher for a mid-sized documentary channel, the kind of job where your name shows up in the credits nobody reads, but the accuracy of your work is the only thing standing between your channel and a community note correction that tanks a video's credibility for months. You make coffee. You open your laptop at the kitchen counter, still in yesterday's shirt, and the first thing you see isn't the files themselves, it's a Slack message from your editor, sent 40 minutes ago, 3 words long. Did you see this? You haven't. You feel that specific low-grade dread that comes from being asked a question you should already have the answer to, and you open a second tab before you've even finished reading the first message, because some instinct older than this job is already telling you the day just changed shape. The portal loads slow, the way government sites always do, and for a second, you just stare at the number at the top of the page. 40. Not 4, not 14. 40 new records, uploaded overnight. No press release, no warning, just quietly appended to a database like it was any other Tuesday. You scroll, and the file names start scrolling past faster than you can read them. Dense alphanumeric strings that mean nothing until you cross-reference them. And somewhere around file 17, you notice your hands have gone still on the trackpad. You're not scrolling anymore. You're just looking at one line, over and over, a cross-reference tag connecting this new batch to a case you covered 8 months ago, a case you were told at the time was closed, resolved, filed away with a clean explanation nobody ever pushed back on. It isn't closed. It never was. Someone just didn't want you to know that until now. By 9 a.m., you're not the only one who's noticed, and that's when the second wave of dread hits, the one that has nothing to do with the files and everything to do with the clock. You open your usual monitoring feed, and the number is already climbing past 19 separate creators, some of them channels with subscriber counts 10 times yours, already publishing reaction videos, thumbnails slapped together in under 3 hours, headlines shouting conclusions the files don't actually support if you'd bothered to read past the summary page. You watch one, just to see what you're up against, and 40 seconds in, you catch a factual error so basic it makes you wince. A creator citing a case number that doesn't even appear in yesterday's release, confidently, to 400,000 people who have no reason to doubt him. You could point it out. You could be the person who corrects the record in a comment section nobody with actual reach will read. Or you could do what you actually got into this job to do and go read the files yourself, properly, before you say a single word to anyone. You spend the next 4 hours doing something almost nobody watching any of these videos will ever appreciate. You read. Not skim, not summarize, actually read, cross-referencing radar logs against witness timestamps, checking whether the redacted portions of each document line up logically with what's still visible, building a private spreadsheet nobody asked you to build because you've learned the hard way that the story is never in the headline, it's in the footnote 3 pages deep that everyone else skipped past to hit publish first. Around file 23, you find something that makes you set your coffee down slowly, carefully, the way you do when your hands aren't entirely steady. A name. A researcher's name, cited as a consulted expert on a 2023 case, and it's a name you recognize, not from this topic, from a completely unrelated story you covered 18 months ago about a scientist who went missing under circumstances nobody ever fully explained. You sit back. You read the citation again. You tell yourself it's probably a coincidence, a common enough name, nothing worth chasing. You don't believe yourself even as you think it. Your editor calls at 1:15 and you almost don't pick up because you know exactly what she's going to ask and you don't have a clean answer yet. She asks anyway. Everyone else already has something up, she says, not unkindly, just factually, the way people state deadlines when they've stopped pretending deadlines are optional. You tell her you're not ready. She goes quiet on the other end, just long enough for you to hear the specific kind of silence that means she's weighing your judgment against 19 competitors who already have a 2-hour head start and don't seem to care whether they're right. Give me until tonight, you say, and you hear yourself say it like it's a promise you're not fully sure you can keep. She agrees, but you can hear the cost of that agreement sitting quietly on the line between you, unspoken, the kind of trust that gets spent down every time you ask for it and doesn't refill itself for free. The afternoon turns into something closer to obsession than research, and you notice it happening and don't stop it. You cross-reference the researcher's name against every public document you can find, and the connections start arriving faster than you can verify them properly, which is exactly the moment you know you need to slow down and don't. A conference appearance from 2021, listing him alongside 2 other names, one of whom shows up again in file 31 of yesterday's release, in a footnote about equipment sourcing nobody else seems to have noticed yet. You feel that specific electricity that comes from being early to something real, the same feeling that got you into this work in the first place, mixed with something colder underneath it, a question you don't want to say out loud yet. What happens to the people whose names end up in files like these? By 6 p.m., you have 11 pages of notes, 4 confirmed cross-references nobody else has published, and a text message from your editor you haven't answered yet, because you genuinely don't know how to explain, in one sentence, why this took so long and why it might now be worth it. You call her instead of typing. You lay it out carefully, the way you'd lay out evidence to someone who has every reason to be skeptical of you right now, and you wait for her to tell you it's too speculative, too thin, not worth the 2 hours she's already lost holding your slot open. She doesn't say that. She asks one question instead, quiet, the kind of question that tells you she's already decided to trust you and just needs you to confirm it was the right call. Are you sure? You're not completely, and you tell her that honestly, because lying about your own certainty is the fastest way to lose the only thing that makes this job worth doing. She tells you to finish it right, not fast. You hang up and realize your hands are shaking slightly, and you're not entirely sure if it's the coffee or something else. You spend the next 3 hours writing something you know is going to look thin next to 19 videos already sitting at hundreds of thousands of views, and you write it anyway, because somewhere in the last 12 hours, the goal quietly stopped being about winning the morning and started being about not being wrong on camera about someone's actual life. You lay out exactly what the files say, no more, no less, careful with every claim, explicit about what's confirmed and what's still just a pattern you noticed that could mean nothing. You leave the researcher's name out entirely, not because you're scared, but because you genuinely don't have enough yet to say it responsibly, and some quiet, stubborn part of you would rather publish something true and small than something explosive and half-built. You hit publish at 9:47 p.m., 22 hours after that portal quietly updated while the country was still asleep, and for a moment you just sit there in the dark kitchen, laptop glow the only light in the room, waiting for absolutely nothing in particular to happen. Nothing dramatic happens that night. That's the part almost nobody expects, and it's the part that stays with you longest. The video doesn't explode. It sits quietly next to 19 louder, faster, more confident ones, climbing slowly instead of spiking, the way things climb when they're built on actual verification instead of urgency. But 3 days later, a message arrives in your inbox from an address you don't recognize. 4 lines long, careful, deliberately vague in exactly the way that tells you the person writing it knows precisely how much they're choosing not to say. It doesn't confirm anything. It doesn't deny anything either. It simply says someone read your video, noticed what you left out, and wanted you to know you were right to leave it out, for now. You read that message 11 times. You still haven't written back. You're still not sure what you'd even say, or whether saying anything at all would close a door you're not ready to close yet. Here's what you actually walk away with 22 hours and 40 files later, and it's smaller than you expected and heavier than you wanted. It's not proof of anything you can put a headline on. It's the quiet, uncomfortable knowledge that somewhere inside a routine document dump, there's a real person's name sitting in a footnote, connected to something bigger than either of you fully understands yet, and you're one of maybe 3 people on Earth who's currently paying attention to that connection at all. You don't know yet if that makes you responsible for something, or just lucky enough to have noticed it before anyone else did. Some nights, you're fairly sure it's the same thing. Maybe that's the actual story underneath 40 files and 19 videos and 1 very long day. It was never really about who published first. It was about whether you were willing to be the slowest person in the room on purpose, when being slow was the only thing standing between a real name and a headline that couldn't take it back. Whether that patience turns out to matter in 6 months or 6 years isn't something you get to know yet sitting here at the end of this one. You just know you'd make the same call again tomorrow morning at 6:40 a.m., half a cup of coffee in, 26 minutes behind everyone else. If this pulled you in the way it pulled her, you know exactly who I mean. Subscribe, because the next file drop is coming, and I'll be reading every page before I say a single word about it. And tell me honestly in the comments, would you have published at 1 p.m. with everyone else, or would you have made your editor wait until 9:47 that night too?